things like what will you be getting in the course and what Selenium is, how it evolved over a period of time. It is available in various programming languages, and one of the most important language is Java, because uh, Java is used by most people. Fine, it's an open source language. Just a minute. Yes, Parag, audio is on. Just a minute. Uh, yeah. So now this was the small program, a very simple program which we made in Java language, right? So today I'll be starting with the concept of object-oriented programming. Fine. I'll be starting with the concept of object-oriented programming. Because that is the backbone for learning Selenium. Most of the people who learn Selenium, they actually don't care about learning object-oriented programming, and they really don't come to know what they are actually doing in Selenium. And if they are stuck badly. Okay. So in this project, Day-2 project, under the source folder, right, I will make a new class called types. Alright, and okay, question being asked is, I noticed on yesterday's session, each class created has a main class, not a main class, a main method. Every class which we create has a main function in it. Is it necessary that we should be having this? Yes, if you want to execute that file, it is necessary, in case you want to execute. Otherwise, I can also have other functions as well. For example, that's what I'm going to talk about. Inside a class, you can keep the class blank. That's not a problem. Okay, if you want to keep, but you will not be able to execute it. If I run this, then I select Java application and I get this launch error that it has not got the main function. So the main function is important if you want to execute the file. Sometimes you will make files which you do not want to execute directly. So in those files you will not keep the main function. So I'll talk about everything. You'll get to know slowly and steadily, right? So in a class, what all we can have? We can have variables and functions. What do you mean by functions? Main is a function. It is a function which is called by default. Okay, I again repeat that, guys, about the doubts and questions. If anybody has got any questions, feel free to ask me. There are three ways. Firstly, you can scroll your mouse on the top, you will get a participants tab, and under participants tab you can actually see your name. In front of your name there will be a red colored unmute button. You can unmute yourself and you can ask the question firstly. Secondly, you can use the WebEx audio chat and you can ask the question. Fine, scroll your mouse to the top, you'll get WebEx audio chat. Thirdly, if you're added on the Skype, you can also use Skype. Okay, so now okay, so let's start. Right. So in my types, I was telling you there are variables and there are functions. Fine. Now there are two types of functions which you can make in a class. I can write like this: public void non-static function. I am giving the name of this function as non-static function. What public is, what void is, you will get to know about this very soon. Okay, but I am writing over here non-static function. This is the function name, and another function called as public static void, and I name this function static function. Okay, now there are two types of functions. One is non-static function. The other function is static function. So this function is your non-static function, and this function is your static function. Okay. So what is the meaning of non-static function? What is the meaning of static function? What do you mean by public? What do you mean by static? What do you mean by void? You will get to know about everything. Just be with me. Just understand that there are two types of functions right now. Okay. And there are two types of variables. Globally, if I declare a variable called as int a, this is known as global variable. Global variable meaning that I can access this variable inside any function of the class. Okay, and technically this is known as global non-static variable. And there is another type of variable. Suppose I declare it like static string x. Then this is known as, this is again a global variable, but this is a static variable. Again, I can use x anywhere. I can write x equals to some string over here and x equals to some string over here, like this. Okay, so why are these static variables and why are these non-static variables used? Okay, that you will come to know once you actually understand the concept of object-oriented programming. Fine. So let's start with object-oriented programming. Object-oriented programming will make you clear like what is static, why do we use static, what is non-static, what are objects, and in the end we will see how objects are made in Selenium. Fine. Just a minute. Right. So let's start. What I will do is I'll make a new class over here. I'll make a new very simple class called as say school. Fine. Now what all properties has a school got? Okay. School has got int students, number of students. Fine. Then string name, the name of the school. Okay. So these are two variables in the school class. What are these two variables? These are global non-static variables. Okay. So this is also, the second one is also global non-static variable. And what is the function of a school? Function of the school can be public, void, say start, school starts, right? And then public, void, say in between there is a interval in the school. So I write interval. So these are two functions. Since there is no non-static word applied out here, okay, so the first function is, this is non-static function, and the second one is also non-static function. Okay, so inside the start function I'll write system.out.println school is starting, and out here I can write lunch break. Right. So I think you understood the functionality of this class. but there is no main function in this class. Okay, there is no main function in this class. If I want to run this, I will not be able to run this. Okay, so what I will do is I will create a new Java file and I will run it from there. Suppose I will create a class file, Java file known as test school, having the main function inside it. Okay, so I will create a class or a public class known as test school with the main function inside it. Right, main function is required to execute the file. If I run this, this will run fine. It will not print any output, but it will run fine. So out here, what I will do is I will create the object of school class. How do you create the object of school class? We write over here new school. What do you mean by an object? What happens when you create the object of this class by writing new school? Okay, well, the thing which happens is that in the memory, okay, suppose this is your memory. Hold on, this is your memory. In this object gets formed. Inside this object, you have got for following variables: number of students, right, name and start function and interval function. Everything is inside this object. Okay, and but look, I can create many objects of the school class. I can create many objects. So what will happen is that in the memory, right, this is one object. If I write this 3 times, 3 such objects they are formed, and every object has a local copy of number of students, name, start and interval. Fine, hold on. But the problem is that these objects, they are hanging. I cannot access these objects. To access these objects, you need something known as object references. Okay, so to access the objects, you have to write something like this: school A equals to this, school B equals to this, school C equals to this. So A, B and C, these are object references. When I write like this, I will be able to access these objects. What will happen is that A, B and C will become the references to the 3 objects, right? And with these A, B, C references, I can manipulate the objects, the corresponding objects. Now, there is just one variable, number of students, but it's got multiple copies under each object. Each object will have its own set of number of students and all the sets of other variables and functions. Fine. So when I write over here a dot name, I can set the name as, suppose, school one, right? A dot number of students is 100. So what I have done is I have initialized the object A, object reference A, right? Then I can initialize B. B dot name is school2 and B dot number of students are 200, right, and C dot name is school3 and C dot number of students are again suppose 300. So what happens is that each of the objects which we have formed in the memory gets initialized. That is, the variables, the global variables, they get initialized. Okay, and I gave them some values and all. So a variable is one, number of students in the class school and name, but all of these non-static things, everything in this class right now is non-static, has a local copy inside every object. I can also call the function a dot start, then b dot start, then c dot start. So when you run this, it prints school is starting, because in the start function, inside this start function, I have printed school is starting. But suppose if I write school is starting and along with it I print the name of the school. Okay, along with it I print the name of the school. So when A will call the start function, okay, when A will call the start function, hold on, yeah, when this start function is called, the corresponding name would be printed. When this start function would be called for B, the name of B would be printed, and when start function of C will be called, the name of C will be printed. So if you run this, you'll see it will print school is starting, school 1, school 2 and school 3. You see that? Fine, right? Now one thing which you should be knowing is that objects are static in memory, that is, they will not change the position, but the object references can change the position. That is, suppose if I write over here A equals to B, right now I have initialized A, B and C, right? A, B and C are object references, they point towards an object, okay, but they can also change their locations. If I write A equals to B, what will happen is that the object reference A will be removed from here and it will start pointing, it will start pointing towards the location where B is pointing. And out here you had, I accidentally deleted it, number of students, name, start and interval functions. So A and B will now point towards the same object. So both of them can manipulate the object. If I write over here, now A dot start, B dot start and C dot start. Since A is pointing towards B, if I run this, see, this prints 2 and these two lines are same. A dot start never printed 1 here. Okay, A and B are same, because A and B they point towards the same object. And if I write over here A dot name is equal to school 10, and again I fire these three commands A dot start, B dot start and C dot start, what will happen is A dot start will print school 10 and B dot start will also print school 10, because A and B they point towards the same object. Any one of them can manipulate the object. Okay, any one of them can manipulate the object, and the change will be reflected for both. Right, if you run this, you'll see that 10 is printed for both A and B. Right, so this is the basic concept of objects and object references. That is, you can make a class, fine, you can create as many objects of the class, okay, and every object will have the copy of local variable inside it. Okay, non-static local variable will be present inside every object. So till now what we have seen is, we have seen how to make a class. We have made a class and only non-static variables and non-static functions are present in the class. I created multiple objects of this class and every object was having the local copy of the variable inside it. Fine. Okay. Now what is static? I will come over to static. I will come over to static in some time. I'll tell you with examples. Fine. But first of all, let me tell you how this non-static stuff is actually used in Selenium. This is important. Now, before I tell you how this is used in Selenium, I will elaborate more on concept of jar file. Okay, this is the path. I'm sorry. Right, this is the path for the day-2 of the project. Under the source folder, you will see the Java files. Okay, and as I told you yesterday, under the bin folder, you will see the class files. Every Java file is converted to a class file. Okay, now suppose I have a big project. In that, I have got number of class files, and suppose 1000 Java files, and 1000 Java files are converted to 1000 class files. As I told you yesterday, this class file is like an exe file. You can deploy it on any operating system and you can execute it, right? And every class file is converted to every Java file is converted to a class file. Okay, so now what we do is that we put all the class files together and put them in a jar file and deliver it to the client. Fine. So similarly, the Selenium guys have also done the same. When you go to Selenium site, and if you go to Google and you type over here download Selenium, right, and if you look at this link, this is the download link. If you click on it, you will get a kind of zip file. You can save the zip file on the disk and it will start downloading. Fine, I'll just close it. Right. Now once you have downloaded and extracted this, for example, I have 2.24 version. Fine. In this you will find two jar files. These jar files contain number of classes which Selenium guys have made. Okay, and similarly in the libs as well, you will have many other jar files. So what we do in Selenium is that we create the objects of the classes which are present inside these jar files. Okay, right now what we did, we created a class locally, school class, and we created objects of that. But in Selenium, we create the objects of the classes which are present inside these jar files. And as I told you, every jar file has got number of class files inside. So first of all, what we need to do is that we need to configure these jar files or import these jar files into Eclipse. Right? You need to tell Eclipse project that fine, here are my Selenium jar files, because by default inside Eclipse only the Java jar files are present. This JRE system library, as I told you yesterday, this is Java which is installed in your machine. Only the Java jar files are present. So you need to import Eclipse into Eclipse the Selenium jar files as well. For that, you need to go right click on the project, fine, go to the properties of the project, okay, go to Java build path, fine, under the properties, go to Java build path and go to the libraries tab. I'm also recording the session. In the recorded session, you'll also get this information. Fine. And click on add external jars. Fine. And you go to your location of Selenium, that is C drive, Selenium, and you take these two jar files. And along with that, don't miss to include the jar files under libs, right? So you need to include these jar files as well. Click on OK, and that's it, right? So you have included all the other jar files as reference libraries under your project, okay? And now you can use the classes present inside these jar files. Now, how do I understand what all classes are present inside jar files? The answer comes from Java documentation over here. Okay, if you click on this, you will get this documentation. Now, this documentation is completely object oriented in nature, right? It's got many classes, interfaces, and all inside it, right? So let's start from the very basic thing, that is how to simply open, suppose a Firefox browser or an IE browser or a Chrome browser using Selenium, right? For every browser, we have a different driver class in Selenium. For example, in case of Firefox, we have a class known as, most of you guys might have worked with it, Firefox driver, right? All you need to do is that now, once you have included the jar files, I'll make a new class over here called Selenium Basics. So this is how you configure Selenium. Selenium is not installed. Many people are under the impression that we need to install Selenium. There is an exe file for Selenium. No, it's not like that. Okay, there are jar files in Selenium. You just need to import it inside Eclipse. That's all, and start creating the objects of the classes present inside these jar files. For example, there is a class known as Firefox driver, which we just saw out here. It is case sensitive. If f is small here, then make sure you write f small here. Java is a case sensitive language. You cannot write the d of driver small. Okay. Now if I create the object of this class, how do I create the object? I write Firefox driver d1 equals to new Firefox driver. Okay, Eclipse will show you an error because this file is present inside one of the jar files, and you need to import this class actually. So you need to move your mouse over the error and hold on. Yeah, you need to move your mouse over the error, and Eclipse will show you some quick fixes. Among them, one of them would be import Firefox driver. Okay. So when you click on this driver class is imported on the top and the error is gone. So you have created the object of the Firefox driver class which is present among the jar files. If I run this program now, just by creating the object of the Firefox driver, you will see that I'm sorry, you will see that in the output a blank Firefox will open up. Hold on, it is taking time. Yeah, you see that this blank Firefox window is opening up. Fine. So if I write out here driver1 dot, you will get all the non-static and static functions and everything whatever is present inside this class. You will get everything, all the functions and all. Now how do I come to know which function does what can I do with this Firefox driver? So you'll get to know about this in some time. One of the functions is get. Get is used to navigate in Q. If somebody has studied QTP, then we write navigate, right? Similarly, the corresponding command out here is get, and you give the URL. Now while giving the URL, it is mandatory in Java to specify the protocol. If I have to navigate to the site google.com, I cannot just give the site like this. I get an error. Okay. In Selenium, you need to give the protocol, that is HTTP google.com. Okay. So if anybody has got any questions, he can unmute and he can ask the question. Okay. So when you run this will open the browser and it will also navigate you to google.com. You see that? Fine. So similarly, I can create as many objects of this class as I want. I can create one more object, say D2, and driver D2 will take me to the website, say gmail.com. So when you run this, first D1 will open, it will take you to Google, and then again a different Firefox will open, which will take you to Gmail. See, this is first Firefox, and after that you will see a second Firefox window, right? I would request you to please keep yourself on mute if you don't want to ask the question, right?
Ashish, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were showing that when we call this class and we can use the methods available in the class. So can we also add some user-defined or custom functions to the existing classes?
You can do that, but it will be a big headache. You will have to convert. You have to get the source code of Selenium. It's like changing Selenium as a tool.
Oh, okay. Okay. So if there is something we need to add, then do we need to create our own class file?
Yeah, you can create your own class file and you can add to it, definitely.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. But don't try to change Selenium.
Okay.
Now, why the second browser did not navigate because I wrote D1 over here. It should have been D2. Okay. Anyways, it will navigate now. Okay. So basically, what I mean to say is that in Selenium you will not be writing some rocket science code and all, or any big kind of code. It's not like that. It's just that you should be having skills to understand the existing classes and interfaces out here, okay, and you should know how to use them. If this functionality is inbuilt, you should know the commands. That is the basic thing. Okay. Now similarly, if I have to work with Chrome, right, I will just comment out this part. Hold on. I will comment out this code, and if you have to work with Chrome, so there is a class known as Chrome driver for Chrome. Here is the Chrome driver class. So all you need to do is that if you look at it, it will give you the description as well. Right, so you need to write the object of Chrome driver class. Chrome driver D1 equals to new Chrome driver. It is case sensitive. Make sure that D and C are capital. Okay, and you can import Chrome driver class. Right, and when you run this, you get an error. In Chrome driver, in most of the systems, you will get 99.99% of the systems you'll get this error. And whenever you get this exception, this is known as an exception technically in Java, okay, don't get confused. It gives you all the information. You read the exception. It tells you the path to the driver executable must be set by the WebDriver.Chrome.Driver system property. And along with that, it tells you the line number as well on which the error is coming. That is Selenium basics.java line number 17. If you click on this, that line will be highlighted as well. I am telling you this because most of the people, they just leave it when they see this kind of an error. Don't do that. I'll tell you what this error means. I'm sorry. So if you go to the Selenium website, okay, out here you will see the information. Just a minute. Internet Selenium IDE. Just a minute. Yeah. Third-party browser drivers are out here. Hold on. Somebody is giving me a message. Slide down. Slide down. So out here, you have the Chrome browser, okay, and this is the download page they have given, right? You go to this download page and you see there are various zip files for Chrome driver, for Windows operating system, for Mac, Linux and all, everything. You download the zip file for Windows operating system or your Mac, whatever OS you have, okay, and in the end you will get an exe file like this. This is the exe file, chromedriver.exe, okay, and this exe file has to be kept in the path so that you can use this and so that you can use Chrome. So what you need to do is that you need to write over here system.set property. WebDriver. This has to be done in the case of Chrome.Chrome.driver. Don't try to run this exe file. It will not actually give you any output and or anything. Okay. Don't try to run this. Just keep it like that and write over here system.set property WebDriver.Chrome.driver, and in the second argument give the path of this file. That is, in my PC it is lying at eDrive-tools Selenium /chromedriver.exe. Okay, in Selenium or in Java rather, when you give the path, you have to give double slash. Concept of escape sequence is there. You have to give double slash when you are giving path in Java language. Fine. So you need to set the system property WebDriver.Chrome.driver to the path of chromedriver.exe. This is the link location from which you can download chromedriver.exe. I'll give the link location to everybody on WebEx chat. Right? So you create the object of Chrome driver after that. And when you run this now, you will see that a blank Chrome driver or a blank Chrome window opens up. Right? Along with that, you get a message that Chrome driver has started on port number 10339. Version is this log file. Now, whenever Chrome driver runs, okay, a log file is generated, and that log file is actually generated under the current project. If you refresh the project, you will see Chrome driver.log. In this log file, they keep all the information what actually happened when you were running Chrome, when you were running your script on Chrome. Okay, the Logs are quite technical. In the beginning you will not be able to understand it, but as you proceed you will be able to find. Similarly, I can write over here Chrome driver d1 dot get, that is go to the URL http say yahoo.com, and in the end you want to close the browser, you can also, I'll tell you how, right? Hold on. If you run this, see Chrome will open and it will actually navigate to Yahoo, right? Now one thing you have to be sure about Chrome driver is that if you don't close the browser through code, that is closing the browser through code means writing d1.quit. Quit function will actually close the browser, right? It's again a non-static function similar to the functions start and interval which I had defined here in school class, right? Out here in Selenium you have got this quit as a non-static function inside Chrome driver class. With the object you can call it. Fine. If I don't call this, if I don't call my quit function, and if I go to my task manager, you will always see that there is a process called Chrome driver.exe running. So you should not actually let it remain like this. You should end the process. Okay, since I ran this program 2 times, 2 Chrome drivers.exe are running. So if I write over here quit, then that exe would automatically be closed. Otherwise, if you don't quit the Chrome driver, the exe keeps on running in background and it consumes the memory, right? So this is one of the concepts. Fine. Similarly, I can create as many objects of Chrome driver as well if I want. Every object will open up a new browser. Okay, and on the same lines, there is iDriver. Now I have a server operating system and I have a very old version of i6. So practically I cannot tell you about this driver, but this driver initially it was quite unstable, but now it is very stable. To work with it, firstly you have to do 2 things. Now almost everybody today, 99% of the guys would be having Windows 7 or Windows XP, right? The first thing is that in case of i8, i9 and all these browsers, you need to actually set the protected mode at the same level, or what I can say is that you guys go and turn off the protected mode in i8 or i9. You will get the instructions. Okay, you will get the instructions that how to turn off the protected mode in i8 or i9. Fine. And after that, after you have turned off, it's better to turn it off. You have to bring it at the same level. I ask people to simply turn it off. Fine. After that, you go over here. For Internet Explorer driver server, there is another exe file which you need to download. There is a separate exe file for 64-bit and there is a separate exe file for 32-bit. Okay, depending on your operating system, you go and download that iDriver.exe file. This is the exe file. You simply download the zip file and simply keep it on your machine, and you set the system property just like you set it for Chrome. You write over here system.set property WebDriver .i.driver. You don't need to run that exe file, you just need to keep the path of that exe over here. And once you have kept the path, you can simply create the object of Internet Explorer driver. Internet Explorer driver is the driver to work on IE, obviously, as the name suggests. And initially working with IE was a little unstable, but day by day it is getting very stable. Okay, you can import this Okay, I have to write new. Sorry. Okay. Now when you run this, you'll see that Chrome opens. It goes to Yahoo. And hold on. It quits. And a blank IE opens. Whenever an Internet Explorer opens, the first page which you get is, this is the initial start page of WebDriver server. Okay, you get this in IE. Fine. And after that you can navigate it to any location or something. Fine. So this is how you work with the three drivers: Firefox, Chrome, and IE. Right now there are many other drivers as well. If you go to the documentation, then they have also launched the driver for Safari browser. I was looking at it, but it is quite unstable right now. Safari driver is available, fine, but it is little unstable now. Right now I don't recommend people to use it because many features like pop-up handling multiple windows and alerts and all, it really gives a lot of issues, right? So right now I don't advise people to use this. And there are other drivers as well, fine. For example, there is a driver called as iPhone driver as well. Okay, now this doesn't mean that you have to, it can test your iPhone based applications. No, Selenium is a web based tool. It can test how to it will basically help you testing your web based applications on iPhone. Okay, similarly Android driver as well, it will help you to test your Android based applications on an Android phone or an Android emulator as well. It works on emulator as well, right? So it works on emulator or an Android device, both of them. Fine. So as the time increases, more and more drivers will come into play, right? And fine. Okay. Now before I tell you something, do you have any questions? Any questions regarding Selenium, regarding drivers, regarding Java? Anything from anybody? Any questions? Technical, non-technical, regarding course, anything? You can feel free to ask question.
Yeah, Ashish had a question.
Yeah.
Every time we try to configure our Selenium, so we import the jar files from the Selenium site, right?
Yes.
But every day there will be an update. So how would that updates get updated to our existing jar files or our library files?
Look, for that we use Maven.
Okay. So it's
Okay.
an upcoming concept.
Yeah, it's not an upcoming concept. It is old concept, but in Maven also you have to do the changes to get the right version.
Okay.
Now I don't recommend you to change the jar files every time whenever a new version comes up, right?
Okay.
But suppose you are using 2.5 version and right now 2.25 is running, then you can update. Because most of the times what happens is that what I have seen them doing is that in 2011 they released 2.1 and now it is around 2.28, right? In all these versions what I have seen them is most 90% of the things which they have released are mostly bug fixes.
Okay.
Okay, they really didn't make any major class or something like that. Although classes were introduced, but the core functionality remained the same, everything remained the same. So whatever they have to make or whatever they had to make, they have made it, and most of the times they are fixing the bugs. If you look at the 2.28 version over here and if you look at the change logs, you will see that all the bugs have been fixed basically. Updating HTML, added phantom file. So basically these are bug fixes. Mostly they do the bug fixes, what I have been seeing. Okay.
Hey,
So
Ashish.
that's it. Yeah.
Ashish.
Yeah, tell me.
Then how the jar files will be updated? Once the bug fixes, then how the jar
You'll
files?
have either you download them manually,
Mm-hmm.
okay, or there is something known as Maven,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'll tell you about this, right? You can use this, and it's an XML file which you can keep in your project, and you can mention the version of Selenium which you want. And whenever the version changes, you simply change the version in your project, and you will get the updated jar file.
Okay. So but no need to change any Eclipse, right?
Actually not, but you just have to manually change the version here.
Okay.
Okay. Inside Eclipse, you keep an XML file in which you can just manually change the version. It will automatically update. Right?
Got you. Yeah.
So, any other question from anybody?
So I'm the pure QTP guy. I have the almost 7 years of QTP experience. But the thing is we are developing a lot of frameworks in the QTP, right? Same thing we can develop in the Selenium also.
Yeah, you have to do it. You can do it rather, and it's not a big deal. You can do it. It's quite easy.
Okay.
Same reading from Excel files and all, whether it's the data-driven hybrid. In Selenium, you have something known as page object models as well, right? You can use that. There is an internal, what do you say, support available for page object model. That's a very strong concept to build up a framework. You can use it.
Okay.
Right. Anything else? Anybody?
When is your weekend batch is starting?
It's had to start from this Saturday, but I think I will delay it by 1 week. Right. I want to listen to class again now. Can I? Yes. You will get it. Pushami, you will. Pushami, is she in the meeting? You will get it today. I will be mailing you.
But Ashish, you will let us know, right? Like a weekend. I'm looking for the weekend batch.
Yeah,
Weekdays,
those who are looking for the weekend batch, you can just register for the weekend batch from my website. You'll get an email.
yeah, because the thing is it's very late to me, almost 12 o'clock in the night. So.
Okay. Fine. In that case, look, if you find that, okay, the class timings are not suitable or whatever is the reason you don't want to join the class, then you also have the option of taking the videos. Look, although it looks a little weird, but I'll tell you videos, I personally feel if anybody asks me, videos are very effective. They are better than classes. You cannot learn this tool by watching me code. You have to pause the video, to play the video, because eventually in the classroom training as well, many people eventually learn from the videos as well.
Yeah,
So only
but it's
thing
a very
in
excellent.
classroom you have the interaction, right? Pardon?
This is a very excellent class.
Thank you. So only thing is in classroom you have an interaction with me, right? In the videos you don't have the interaction, but it's your perspective, completely your perspective. So right. Okay. So we'll end up for today, right? I'll be giving you the recorded session.